Alrighty, here we go. So this is one of the Jane Davneport butterfly books. And she has quite a few different ones to choose from. I just really love her ladies more than anything. And I love their wispy bodies. And so this is the one I decided to start with. When you buy the book, of course, it's empty inside. And you'll buy these inserts. So this was the first insert that I filled. When I travel, I might take this whole thing, but I might also just pull this out for easy access. So I'm going to pull it out so that we can look at it. These little covers are also part of her line, and generally as you can see, I saved some of these things from her watercolors because they're so cute. So generally I'll have my extra papers kind of tucked in here. This was the one that was around this before I took it out. This was done with her stamp, same face, practicing. And so, yeah, these are great because you can just cover this individual signature while you're traveling and have some of your supplies tucked in there. So because my husband travels for his job, oftentimes I'll go with him, and I usually have 4 or 5 or 6 journals I'm working in. And so I can't take them all. So obviously I have to decide which one I want. So when I pack my art bag, I have a little traveling art bag and some essential things I take. Then I pick 1 or 2 to take. So, I might take this whole thing, but also if I'm just going to go for a walk or go and do something, I'll just pull out 1 signature. So this is actually a Jane Davneport Signature. It's made out of watercolor paper, and I thought it was great to work in. Number one, it's small, so that maybe some people would think, I don't want to get it because there's only a few pages. But I'm going to tell you, there is just something about having this finished signature that is so fun to start with. So I love it. I have another one in the back because I think there's 2 or 3 in a pack that I bought. So I have this other one I'm kind of kicking around and working on. And then I ordered, this is just like a regular Midori Traveler's Notebook insert. It's lined, so I've been using a little bit of gesso on it, but I just wanted to show you. I think I just got this off Amazon or something, but it fits just fine in these Jane Davneport books. So go ahead and use your Traveler Notebook inserts in this. It's a little bigger. You can see the edge there in comparison to her watercolor paper, but nothing that, I don't mind. I kind of like the uneven edges. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into this little flip through. And I'm going to just really quickly tell you a little bit about each page. So this was actually done with the Jane Davneport stamp of the face. She has a tutorial on the Flower Girls. I believe it's called Flower Girls, but you stamp, and I actually did it on these little cards. And I wasn't loving, I wanted like a big flower. This was a stamp I already had in my collection, and I didn't really love the way it looked, so I wanted to try and just sketch a flower. That was the difference there. You'll see a little bit of differences in the face. That's just because I was working with her pens and inks and switching up the eyes and just making it a little more personal. Upturned her lips a little bit. So when you get these stamps, if you get a face stamp or Jane Davneport face stamps, go ahead and just tweak them a little bit, make them your own, because I really love how she turned out on the cover of this signature. Now here I have a little layout that was done again with some Jane Davneport supplies. Washi tape, washi heads here. I love, this right here is her face washi tape, and they're actually noses. But I just love how she uses color. I love how she blends it. I love the layers of it. So I was already experimenting with her markers, her mermaid markers. So I was using this, these other two tones, and I noticed how great her tape looked with them, so I just threw some down, just kind of for some color and texture. I was also working with an Epic pen, trying to do a little bit of lettering. I struggle with lettering. I don't love my own lettering, but I'm really trying to just be okay with it and just go forward and not pick myself apart over my lettering. So I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm very indifferent with this, but I will stamp a lot just because of the fact that I don't love lettering. I wrote a little bit about purchasing Jane Davneport products, wrote a little bit about some of, my bucket list items. This was just kind of intended to be a little place to throw down my creative ideas, and that's kind of what the intention of this insert was just to kind of try some new things. One of the things I was really trying to do was work with some of the Jane Davneport line, and I don't know if you can really see it, but there is a square of paper here and a square of paper here that was the base of this page. And they were kind of her smudgy, cool from her art pad. But I wanted to just kind of add around the edges, add to it. I really like it when my backgrounds, like, you kind of can't really tell what's going on with them. I know that sounds weird, but so what I will do is put down a piece of paper, kind of rough up, get similar colors, rough up around the edges of the paper so that it almost starts to look like the paper is just melding into the background. Then I'll use a little bit of washi, a little bit of handwriting, a little bit of stamping, but you can see that like the stamping and the washi looks very similar. This is what I really like it when all these background pieces sort of merge together and you're not exactly sure what's what. I talked a little bit about that in my article that I was just in October Stampington, just that I really love these thick layers that kind of get covered up but still add to the piece. Now this was Jane's washi tape. Just cut off one eye. I built a little bit of a face around it just to kind of experiment. I used to sketch a lot when I was a teenager, and I just kind of have stopped sketching over the years. And so I'm trying to be more free with the way I sketch in my art journals. I'm trying to add some faces and bodies and shapes and push myself to kind of tap into that again. So that's been kind of a fun journey that I've started doing a lot more last year and this year. These little sentiments here are from the Tim Holtz, like chit chat little stickers or whatever. But I actually collect old books, and I do cut out a lot of text and save book pages for these kinds of pages. But I love his little sentiments because they're already pulled out for you. I love how great they stick on when I've painted or done stuff. They stick really good. And I like the font. Yes, I use old book pages, but sometimes I just love the ease that this little Tim Holtz line provides. So this was, I guess you could kind of say, my little, plein air watercolor moment. My husband and I were camping. We were down in St. George. It was beautiful. It was a little chilly. We're there on kind of a rainy week, off season. It wasn't summer. And it was early April. And I just noticed every time we pulled out of our campground, we went around this bend. There was this little hill of red dirt. Behind it was a stream. But I loved how the trees contrasted with the red dirt and the blue skies. It was gorgeous. So I pulled out my paints. I went to the edge of the little road and in this campground, and I decided to paint this. Now, this was really out of my comfort zone because I don't really do art in public. I see these just dreamy posts about people sitting in like a little cafe or like on the street corner, and they're just like sketching and painting, and I think, oh, that's so fun. But I'm a little intimidated by that, I have to say. So this was a first for me, another 2017 first. But it was kind of fun because as I was like sketching and kind of putting these trees together, I know, I had a few people walk over. They were like looking at my little page and just talking about how beautiful the area was, and it was really quite fun. So I don't know. I'm definitely going to try and get out of my comfort zone and do a little more outdoor public sketching, because it was a very relaxing, out of all the things we did on the trip, that is one of the places where my mind goes, that I just really was in the present moment as I sat and captured that. This is a little layout that I did. I actually did this layout on the same camping trip that I did the previous page. So you can see there's quite a difference in feeling and style, but I love to pack my art stuff. There's something about not being home and worrying about like the dishes in the sink and who's going to call me or whatever, that I just kind of can get lost and do 2 or 3 or 4 layouts like in an afternoon, and I love it. But I've been working on these little faces since reading the Jane Davneport book, Beautiful Faces. So you'll see some of her techniques, the shading, the coloring. A great book if you're wanting to get into kind of some whimsical fantasy faces and get them in your pages. These are some of her colors. I love the color swatching. I love to see how they mix over, the background color and on each other. So color swatching has been one really fun way to add a little bit of extra element to these pages. And then these, of course, are her little washi heads that they're on a washi tape. I love working with these. So this was on another trip. I did this one, I believe, in a hotel, because this has just been such an easy book to grab, and then I have an extra thin little something to put something in. So this was Jane's washi head. I piled on a bunch of hair. What I'll kind of do with these is I'll cut the head out, and then I'll sort of, I'll just kind of eyeball where I want the torso, where I want the skirt, start plopping paint and going for it. Again, with the backgrounds, there's a combination of stamping. There's a combination of a little bit of washi tape and just a lot of different elements that I bring together so that it looks kind of multi-layered and dimensional, even though it's just this flat surface. I just love that textured feel. So yeah, this was a butterfly sticker. I cut it apart, kind of roughed it up a little bit. And I go ahead and just watercolor right over when I need a sticker to blend a little better. The blue was really bright. So, and a little bit of journaling about my little creative travels. Now, this page, I don't love it. I didn't really love it when I finished. I'm trying to be a little less critical, a little more gentle about my own art, but that's... Any of you who create, that's very difficult. Sometimes we look at other people's art and we just think everything they make is great, even if it's just a whimsical, sketchy face or something loose and, messy. But then when we try to recreate it, whoops, had a little bit of a something there with my camera. When we try to recreate it, we're a little more harsh on ourselves. So I didn't love her face. It's not like something I'd be too embarrassed. I mean, obviously I'm showing it here, but why I'm just wanted to mention that is the whole point of having an art journal, traveler's notebook, signature full, because I can look back at this and, I can say, well, why do I not like this, but I like this better? Or, what did I do here that I like better than here? And I can start to see what patterns and styles and colors make me happy. With this layout, I was really just exploring the color. I got one set of Jane Davneport watercolors. I have a couple other just cheap watercolor sets that I've used, and then I have a couple other little sheets of nice watercolors that I've received from some Instagram art swaps and giveaways and whatnot. So I really was just working with those Jane Davneport colors to see how they took and what it was like to blend them. And you can actually see if you look closely on the cheeks and the neck here, the paper's a little rough because I'll blend, and then I'll really try to get it down into the paper and actually bring up some paper when I do that. So these are the kind of things you're learning about and you're just exploring with the paint and paper when you're working in an art journal. All right, this is the final 2-page layout. Another urban sketch. Now, this I did in Newport Beach, and this is taken at the temple grounds there. My husband and I went and visited there. It's not really the kind of place where I would sit and sketch or paint like actually there on the grounds. I don't know if it's like considered cool or not, or like if you'd be, I don't think anybody would care. I mean, there's photographers there all the time. But we were just kind of in the moment, and I snapped a few pictures. And so this is one of the pictures. It was just a little side view of this entryway that was just gorgeous with the palm trees and, you know, the shrubbery around. It was just such a great place to be. So I kept that kind of marked as a favorite on my phone. And when we went camping last week, I pulled my phone up, opened up a photo, and just did a quick little sketch. So that's a great, if you're in a hurry, you don't actually have time to sit down and paint right there in the moment, or it's not an appropriate place, you're crossing a street or, you know, whatever. Just snap a couple photos, and then when you have some quiet time, you can do your, you know, urban sketching per se, just not in the middle of the road. So this was a little area that I was able to use. I used both the Jane Davneport watercolors, and then I have a little watercolor set that I just got like at Walmart, like Crayola, like it was super, super cheap. And I wanted to see how they mixed together. I wanted to use them to blend colors. They mixed pretty good, but there was a big difference in the quality of paint. So go ahead and get yourself some good watercolors. They're worth it. Now this is the very back of this signature. I didn't even realize it, like it's similar, I guess. But I am constantly sketching faces straight on. Like, it's just easier, right? It's easier to divide up the face. It's easier to figure out what the eyes are doing. So this was just a moment where I was relaxing, and I was like, I kind of want to sketch a little, you know, a little bit of a turned head. So this is actually a vintage book page. This dark right here that I glued down. A little bit of text right there coming through, which I love. This page was gifted to me from an Instagram friend, Jenny. We met and swapped and looked at each other's art journals and swapped pieces, which was so great. Again, out of my comfort zone, but I'm telling you, you guys, if we got to get out there and connect and support each other, because it is so good for the soul when you do that. So anyway, I just kind of sketched this. I was swatching. These are Jane Davneport colors. You can see that just a swipe or two, the pigmentation is just gorgeous. This right here, this brown and this yellow, again, these were off this Crayola swatch. So I just wanted to see how they took to the paper. These tend to just kind of bleed and meld down into the surface, which is great actually. Sometimes you're going to want that look. This, you can actually get some depth and dimension. You'll kind of see that there's, you know, actually some, I don't know, striping in there and a layered look. So that's another thing. I've really let myself kind of just start to play with paints a little bit. I'm not like a brilliant artist. I consider myself very much a beginning crafter, and so it gets kind of intimidating when I start thinking about painting and filling up these journals and doing all of these things, because I see people who are very, very good at their craft, and an art journal is just such a safe place to start making swatches and, you know, seeing what paint does on different kinds of paper and what your ink does, and just finding your voice as an artist. So that is it for this first little flip through of this first Jane Davneport signature. I am going to bundle her right back up and just keep her in here, because I want nothing more than to just have this wonderful collection of big old chunky art journals. And so back in she goes. I'm working right now with this lined paper, doing a couple of different things, and I have another Jane Davneport Signature in the back, which I'm kind of working with some acrylic here, mixing acrylic and watercolor. So when this is full, we'll come back, we'll do another flip through. But anyway, short and sweet, not a ton to it. But I just wanted to share and encourage you to get out there, create, connect with other artists, record places you're going and things you're doing, and that's what's going to make these art journals just really become a little bit of a historical treasure for you. So anyway, have a great day, and thanks for watching.